welcome to the Woolly Thistle Shopcast. I'm Maggie, your co-host. Corinne is off today. She's a little under the weather. So Graidi is sitting in with me. Graidi is our customer success representative here at the shop. I'm gonna say hi.
Hello. Some of you might be familiar with my name if you've written to us.
Yeah, or if you've ever popped into the chat.
Yes.
You usually get Graidi, which we're so thankful for. Yes. So welcome. This Shopcast can be a little different just because Corinne's not here, but we have a full episode for you with guest segments from Emma, Kelsey. We have knitting yoga with Kim, and we have a special guest contributor. And today, Erika, who is actually our video editor, and I was delighted to watch this one. It's a lot of fun. So welcome. Why don't we start with, what are you wearing?
All right. So I have a shawl that my mom actually knit for me and has been around for quite a while. So the pattern is called Light and Up, and I'll link it in the show notes below, but it's a pattern that's available on Ravelry. And I don't know the exact yarn that it's knit in, because as I mentioned, it's been around for a while, but it is a one skein project.
Nice.
And it's a triangular shawl, so I just have the ends tucked in to kind of make that bandana style.
Lovely.
So that's what I'm wearing. And what are you wearing today?
I'm wearing, under my blazer, I'm wearing the Amory sweater by Isabell Kraemer. It's knit in Laceweight. I knit mine in Garthenor. They're #1 in Shetland, which I think we're probably out of at the moment. I think it'd be really pretty in J&S 2-ply Laceweight.
Yes.
And there's so many colors to choose from for that one, but it's a great knit. I can take my blazer off. So it's great. She's got like a pretty little seam detail on the. It felt like genius as you're working it, because you start and it's not knit quite like a traditional raglan. I messed up on this side, but this side's good. And it goes down nicely, and it fits perfectly over your shoulder. Yeah. And then it has this lovely lace detail at the bottom.
I've not knit one of her patterns yet, but I feel like I've read that a lot of her designs kind of it fits like a set-in, but it's a raglan construction in terms of knitting it. Yeah. But it fits like a set-in sleeve. So that sounded really
and it doesn't, like you can see, there's not a lot of extra bulk
fabric
at the armpit. And
it's very pretty.
It fits really nice.
Nice transitional, seasonal.
Yes. Yeah, I pulled out this weekend. I took Friday off and I did I washed all the woolens. Yep. And got that, like the heavy woolens that are, like, I don't think I'll be wearing Icelandic sweaters again until next winter. Yes. And that's okay.
yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, we're definitely ready. But that was fun. So I pulled out some of the lighter weight ones too that have just been too chilly to wear. Yeah,
I need to do the big seasonal wash of all our winter accessories so I can store those away for the summer. Yeah. Because they kind of take over the entryway in the winter.
Yeah. And I'd heard that, I don't know if it's true, but I'd heard that moths are attracted not to the wool necessarily, but to like the skin on the wool. So I figured good to just wash them before they go.
I think I have heard that too. Yeah, if they're dirty or have a lot of other kind of dirt or stuff on them, that's more attractive to moths. And they are out in numbers at my house. I had the lights on last night outside, and there was quite a few moths hanging out on the door this morning.
Yeah, so I figured better safe than sorry.
Yes.
We'll just wash them. I actually really like washing my woolens. I don't know why. Seeing them all laid out and pretty, and it's just a nice little sort of ritual.
Exactly.
So I see you have your shawl behind you.
I do.
Today is the kickoff for our shawl cow. So if you've not joined us yet, you can go to the website and sign up now. It's free to sign up. You can knit any shawl pattern using at least 80% woolly thistle yarn, but you pick any shawl pattern that you want by any designer that you want, and just join us.
Yeah, and if you're still undecided, we have lots of great pattern suggestions in the bundles on our Ravelry group. If you navigate to the Ravelry Woolly Thistle page on the top, you'll see the bundles tab, and you can click on that, and there's some hap patterns as well as shawl, both knit and crochet shawl patterns. Yeah. So this is my Hansel hap. that I knit for last year's Hap Cal, which we are doing Shawl Cal this year. This is the half version, so it's just a triangle, and it's the smallest size. And I knit mine in the natural color. The main color is Supreme jumper weight, so it's a natural undyed. And I believe it was 2006, but I'd have to double check. We'll link the project in the show notes below. And then the colors are the J&S 2-ply jumper weight. So I think they work really well together. I love the Supreme for the main color because it feels just a little bit thicker and bouncier. So it's just a little heftier.
Yeah.
It's a nice cozy shawl, perfect for throwing over your shoulders. Not too big, but just enough to keep you warm. So
big enough to stay on.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was my shawl that I knit for our Hap Cal last year, and I've usually lives in the office with me in case I get chilly in the winter.
Yeah, I can see, I have windows over here. We're in my office and I have windows over here. And I can usually see Graidi.
Yes.
Sometimes covered up with the shawl.
Yes.
Less now as it's getting warmer.
Exactly.
But good to have there. So before we get too into it, I think we should pick a winner. Also, a note that we've stopped running ads on our YouTube channel. We hope that you enjoy that. We figured we are doing our little bit to give you ad-free content, and we hope that you will support the channel by shopping with us at the Woolly Thistle when you're looking for fantastic woolly yarns. Do you, since Corinne's not here, would you like to read the winners today?
All right. So for our first winner, which is going to be a $25 gift card to the Woolly Thistle, it's Elise Cessna, and she writes, does Rachel live there by herself and does all this work with the sheep herself? I can't imagine living in those rough conditions and tending the sheep. I love seeing everyone's projects and all the lovely woolly yarns. Thanks for another fun podcast. Happy Easter. So congratulations. And do you want to let her know what she needs to do?
Yeah, so if you want to email us at info@thewoollythistle, put prize winner in all caps, we will get you your $25 gift card. And in brief answer, maybe Rachel can answer this next time, but yes, I believe she does live alone and she does all that work all by herself with her amazing sheep. And she does, if you are interested in knowing a little bit more about Rachel and following her journey in living on Fair Isle, she does now have a Patreon. She's known as @BarklandCroft on Instagram, and that is her Patreon name as well. And her tiers are very affordable. And your money is going to support a very hardworking woman, and her lovely.
And she also has an adopt a sheep option on her website, which is adorable to go through and see all the sheep that are in her flock. So that's really fun too. And again, pretty affordable to support definitely. One. So I have heard from several customers that they've supported a few, and it's just fun. She has photos of all of them. You can. And some great names. Yeah. They have fun names.
They do. I went ahead and adopted Tiddlywink because I couldn't resist. And I actually got a postcard. It's over there. Nice. I got a postcard from Rachel. I think she's been busy sending out postcards to people who've either adopted sheep or maybe her patrons. And yeah. So yes, we love Rachel. And I'm sure she'll talk a little bit more about that, but why don't we, before we get too far in, what are you working on right now?
So I am actually working on a shawl. So I have been quite busy and not had a lot of time to knit lately, but I did pick up some Biche Bûches Le Petit Lambswool, and this is the light pink violet color. So it's a beautiful heathered kind of purplish warm purple with some pink flecks.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
And I am working on the Humbug shawl, which is one of the ones that we have recommended in, it's a crochet pattern. Let's see if I can show the picture here. Yeah, Humbug by Anna Nikipirowicz, I think.
That's as close as we're gonna get, I think.
And we will link that, I'll link that pattern in the show notes below, but it's a 1 skein crochet shawl. Technically it's 2 skeins with B&B because they're 50-gram skeins. Yeah. But this is as far as I've gotten. So you start at the small point and there's a couple different sections. This one's just very meditative, pretty straightforward, and then there's some more lacy sections. So this is what I've started. I was gonna wait until the cow, but I'm hoping that I'll get this one done so I can start a new one.
Nice. Yeah, so we're recording on Monday, so when you're watching this on Friday, I might be in the same place, or I might have finished it.
Yes,
I almost cast on. So I know I'll be knitting the Vatna. Sorry, I had a moment where I just left my brain. I'm knitting the Vatna shawl from Gudrun Johnston. It's a circular shawl with lots of wavy, chevron-y.
The old shale lace.
I don't know that it's old shale. I remember reading in the, I bought a copy of her book, and I remember reading the name of the lace, and it's left my brain. But
there's a few that are kind of similar to the old shale style.
Yeah.
That's common with the hats.
It's really pretty. So I purchased from the shop a couple weeks ago. If you watched the last episode, I talk about it, but I purchased a kit for the large Hansel hat. I wasn't sure I'd have enough yarn for Vatna, and I was originally, when I purchased it, thought I would just knit another Hansel, and then going through books, and I want to knit the Vatna, and why not? So I have plenty of yarn from the kit. I did double check. I have more than enough yarn with the kit, which is okay. I don't mind putting the extra balls of 2-ply in stash, as one does. And it'll give me a couple of color options for the wavy lace at the bottom. Nice. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I had thought about knitting another Hansel hat, but I have not done much crochet in a while. So I thought it would be kind of fun to change gears a little and do some crochet for a change.
Nice. But, yeah. Before we get going, I want to show you what I've been working on, which is over here. But before we talk about that, I think let's go to Kelsey. Kelsey is going to share finished sweater and some shawls that she's made previously. So enjoy Kelsey's segment, and we'll see you in a minute.
Hi, it's Kelsey coming in to talk to you about a couple things that might be of interest with our upcoming shawl knit along, Shawl Cal. First thing is actually not shawl related, so I don't know why I started with that, but it's what I'm wearing. This is my very V-neck raglan. The design is by Jessie May Designs. It is in Retrosaria Mungo. This is color 006 Musco, and it's knit sort of top-down raglan with this V-neck. And as you can see, and I mentioned in a previous podcast, I had 2 different dye lots, and the nature of Mungo with being recycled fibers is that you actually can get some variation between dye lots. That's actually more than some of our commercial yarns. So this is sort of a darker green, this is a lighter green. They're both called 006 Musco. So if you're ordering a sweater quantity or you want to make a sweater, make sure you've got enough for your whole sweater, because I think it ended up looking fine, looking good. But just making sure that if that's not what you're going for, that you do have enough. This is before I got this yarn before Woolly Thistle had it, actually. And so I had ordered sort of 2 skeins, and then I realized that I wanted to make a sweater, so I had to get some more. So I ended up with kind of 2 different groups. I haven't woven in the ends yet. So it's done, but it's not quite done. So don't tell anybody. I just wanted to talk about 2 things with the shawl knit along. One thing is shawl terminology, mostly to do with shawl shapes. And the second is yarns that are good for shawls. So the first is shawl terminology. There are scarves, shawls, shawlettes, and wraps. And those can sort of be used interchangeably, but I wanted to sort of note a couple of differences, especially if you're looking at patterns and you want to know, like, what is this kind of look like? A scarf traditionally is rectangular and pretty long, so you're going to be wrapping it around your neck at least once or twice. So this is a scarf. It's a 2-color brioche in sort of a fluffy mohair. That it's not a Woolly Thistle yarn actually, but it's a good example of the shape. So this is the traditional, I'm going to wrap it around my neck. It's a rectangle, see, rectangular end scarf. So you'd usually like that. Something that is, I'll take this off. A shawl will tend, not always, but tend to have kind of a thicker spot and some thinner spots. So this is the Area shawl. I knit it over the winter, or actually last fall, using Ulcentrum 2-ply, so it's the sport weight. And at the one end, well, both ends, it starts kind of with a pointy end, and goes through and gets wider and wider, and it actually has a bit of a crescent to it. So the top edge is not straight. So it's a bit crescent shaped like that. You can have triangular shawls that tend to be straight across the top and then have the point. And those can be either knit from the outside in or from the inside top edge sort of out. Often it's sort of you start with a middle and you kind of increase so it goes out. But you can do it different ways. You can also do it where you cast on all the stitches on one edge and then you decrease to the other edge, or you can start the other way and start with the little tiny edge and increase. And you end up with a triangular shawl where this is a little more crescent shaped. It's not a true crescent because crescent shapes, you've probably seen them on Ravelry. They actually like really curve around and they tend to really hug your neck. This sort of shape has a little bit of the hug your neck, but it's also got this kind of, if you wear it in the front, it's kind of the big fluffy sort of bibby thing to it. Bib's not the best word for it, but it's got a lot more fabric in the front than the scarf did. Or you wear it sort of the really traditional would be to wear it kind of over your shoulders to the back. So it would be more like that, and maybe you wrap it around. So those would be shawls, and a shawlette would tend to be a smaller shawl. So it's still the same sort of, there's a thick spot somewhere, whether it's on one edge or it's in the middle. And it might be crescent, it might be triangular, but sort of a bigger piece of fabric with some pointier ends, usually. Shawlettes tend to be like 1 to 2 skeins, depending on the weight of the yarn. So they're much smaller and they tend to go right, like pretty close to your neck. Sort of like the effect would be as if a cowl didn't connect to itself. That would be sort of more of a shawlette. And then another option would be sort of a more hap style, which is this is not a traditional hat, but it's sort of hap style where it's actually a rectangle with some, it starts from the middle and knits some lace and then goes out. And this is actually knit as a blanket size, but you can also fold it. The traditional way to wear a square hap would be to fold it so it ends up being sort of triangular if you're not using it as like a baby blanket. And then the same thing as a triangular shawl, you're kind of wrapping it around. So that's a lot of fabric. Yeah, so those are the general things. A wrap often is either larger, in my opinion, it's either a lot more yarn or is a lot lacier. They tend to be rectangular, so like really thick rectangles, so it ends up being a really big piece of fabric, which I don't actually have one nearby. But if you think of the shawl size, but you made it really wide this way and in both directions. Joji Locatelli has a good number of wraps. You tend to wear them kind of wrapped around yourself like this. But that's just another option for things that are shawl or shawl-like. The next thing I want to talk about is yarn selection. So this yarn is a worsted, there's a few worsted weight yarns in here. So this will give you a thicker shawl, scarf, shawl, whatever. But if you add lace, oop, there's a tail there, it ends up still being pretty light and airy. You can still sort of breathe through it, see through it, air goes through it. This was knit as a baby blanket rather than a true shawl. But you can definitely, this is the Oaken pattern by Tin Can Knits. It has both a triangular option and this rectangular option, but it's knit in worsted weight, and I would suggest that pattern because it has a really nice, you can see it, sort of diamond shaped lace pattern here. And for worsted weight, the orange was 100 gram skein, the white was 200 gram skeins, and the blue going all the way around was another 100 gram skein. So it ended up being about 400 gram skeins. But it's really nice. Another, you can also go down to sport weight. So this is a sport weight yarn that's in a shawl. Again, this is Ul Centrum. This is in garter stitch. So you can see all the ridges and a lot of short rows, but a lot of garter stitch. So it tends to be pretty squishy. When you go thinner in yarns, you're going to have thinner fabric. And so you tend to, if you want some of that still squishy factor, something like garter stitch or another textured stitch, or even cables would be really nice to add some of that squish when your yarn is getting thinner. So that's just something that I would consider. if you're going with a thinner weight yarn. This is another thing I finished this winter. This is the Gaca, G-A-C-A shawl. And it's knit in Manchalope by Wool Dreamers. Actually held 4 really, because it's the 2 strands off of 2 different plates. So it's 4 of the little strands, but 2 functional strands. And it is a shawl because it does, I mean, it's fairly scarf-like, but it is a shawl because it does have, this area is thicker here than the rest of it. And you do wrap it around yourself. It's actually quite hot today, so I'm not going to do this too much. But this is a really fluffy yarn. It's an unspun yarn, so you can also absolutely make a shawl or a scarf out of something that's fluffier and thicker. Depends really what you're going for. If you're going for a lot of drape, what you're really looking to do is go a bigger gauge for the yarn that you're going to be using. So like this is J&S, this is Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight. This is FC56, sort of a purple that has some greeniness to it. Someone told me it was a Barney color, but I really like it. I think it's a really nice purple. But when you might knit this at like 30 stitches for color work, you want to really knit it at like 22 or less for shawls to get some of that drape. 22, 24, or even you know, you could go crazy and get to 20 or something. So even though it's a woolen spun yarn, it's really nice to use in shawls when you go sort of to that drapier end of the spectrum. The same with this. This is technically knit as a chunky weight, but I think this, I used a fairly big needle. I think it was a US 17 or 19. So you can actually see some of the air and light, if I can even get a good angle on that, through it, so that it's not as heavy, it's not as dense as it could be. So I just don't want you to think like, oh, it's a worsted weight, I can't use it for a shawl. Oh, it's a fingering weight, I have to use it really densely. Any yarn you take and you knit at its like really loose end of its spectrum, you're going to have a nice drapey shawl, even if it's worsted spun, even if it's woolen spun, even if it does or doesn't have nylon or alpaca or all these other things in it that could make it more drapey. You can really use whatever yarn you want. You just have to look at the gauge and really think about it. The other 2 yarns I wanted to talk about that are more often used for socks and are designed for socks for a couple different reasons that I think would make a fantastic shawl are West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply here. I think this is called Blue Raspberry or something like that. It's sort of a tealy aqua color. So it does have some nylon in it. It is superwash. So it's a nice yarn that's designed for socks, but if you knit it at a loose gauge, not like the 28, 30, 32 that you'd knit it for socks, more in the sort of 24, 22, you can really make some nice shawls, and it comes in some really great colors, and also colors that have some of their self-patterning. That's really fun. The other is Exmoor Sock, which is John Arbon's sock yarn, one of their sock yarns. And there's 2 things about this. There's a little bit of nylon, there's 10% nylon, but it's more that the breeds in it and the spinning of it make it really suitable for shawls. So it's worsted spun, so it's going to be a bit smoother than a woolen spun. It also is made of Exmoor Blueface, Corriedale, and Zwartbles yarns. Especially the Exmoor Blueface and the Zwartbles are longer wools, and they are drapier wools, so like similar to like a BFL. Oh, that's the other thing. This one has BFL in it, and BFL will always give you more drape than some of these other ones. But having some long wool blends in your yarn will give it some more drape. It's a little tiny thing, but you can even see, if I pull this down, even this little 50-gram skein will start to kind of drape itself. So again, I wouldn't knit it sort of at the 28-30. I would knit it more at 22, something like that. But I think that's another thing. Like, don't overlook sock yarns for their ability to make nice shawls. So that's all I really wanted to talk about, is a couple of shawl shape things and a couple of yarn things. But I hope you're all excited and getting ready for the shawl cal, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Kelsey's segment. I love seeing her sweater. She finished her sweater that she knit with Mungo, and it looks absolutely cozy, and all of her shawls are beautiful. I am ready for some shawl knitting.
Yes.
So I'm excited to cast on today when I get home from work. So the thing I've been working on, you've seen before, probably if you've watched before, this is the Paul Klee sweater by Midori High Rose. As you can see, I've made good progress.
Yes,
and
awesome.
this mannequin I think is maybe a little smaller than me, but not much. And I've tried it on, it fits very similar. So however big she is, she's just kind of in the shop. So she's roughly my size, but I've never actually measured her. But yeah, I ended up, I think I told you last time, I ended up going, I did go up a needle size as the pattern recommends in the yoke, and that was perfect. And then I had gone up a couple pattern sizes. I didn't need to. So it was okay, because the yoke, she works the yoke in different size blocks. So if you're knitting like extra small through medium 1, it's all the yoke instructions are the same until you get back to your main color and you do raglan increases. So it's like a circular yoke here, and then it switches over to raglan increases. So I tried it on. I went up to like a medium, and I got to like here, so not too far. I tried it on, and it was going to have more ease than I usually wear. Yeah. And I was like, well, this is not necessary. Nice. So the nice thing is I'm using J&S on a cone. We'll talk about that in a minute. But all I did was I pulled the needles out and I just ripped back a whole lot. I counted how many increases I needed for the size I originally picked, which I think is the extra small, because I think that'll give me a 38-inch. So I'm a 34-inch bust, so the 38 will still give me 4 inches of ease, which is about what I usually wear. I don't usually wear like 8 inches of ease. I look like I'm drowning.
Is it a bigger fitting sweater? What is the recommended ease?
I don't remember the recommended ease. It was a little bit more like her sweaters tend to be, but I know I don't enjoy wearing them that way, so I want to actually wear it.
Yeah. That's reasonable.
It's reasonable. So I went ahead and I counted how many increases would be about, and then I just ripped out until I got there, and then I counted all my stitches, and I was good
to go.
And then
nice.
Yeah, and
that's great.
I think I was 1 or 2 stitches off, so I fudged it under the arm, and off we go. Because from there you're pretty much just knitting straight until so, and you can see like when I tried it on and it was bigger, like there was all kinds of extra space, especially at the back. It was crazy.
Like a tent.
It was bigger than, like, if you like wearing your sweaters that way. I've seen lots of sweaters that people wear with lots of ease and drape, and they look lovely, but I'm not tall, and it's not a good look. It's not a good look for me.
I love how bright the colors are compared to the dark charcoal main color. Just really makes them pop.
I'm really pleased with it. So I did update my Ravelry project page with every single color. So if you're interested in what colors I've used, the color work is a mix of Jamieson's of Shetland Spindrift and Jamieson and Smith 2-ply. They work really well together. Feel wise, I couldn't tell a difference between them. So and I'm enjoying knitting from the cone. This is a cone of, the main color is 54. I keep having to tuck the little bottom in. But we've had some questions lately about cone knitting, and so thought we would talk about it a little bit. We've talked about cone knitting before. You can knit directly from the cone. You don't need to wind it off into balls. You can see a little bit that I don't know if you can see, but the yarn does feel a little bit more compact because it has the spinning oil in it. So definitely swatch and wash your swatch before you begin your project, because your gauge will be a little bit different after you wash all that spinning oil out. So I did do that. Yep. But yeah, then you can just happily knit from the cone. You have no ends. And I know weavers like weaving from the cones. I have yet to do that. My poor loom is just sitting off to the side. Yeah, and then I'll give it a good wash with either Eucalyptus, or I have some Power Scour that I use when I wash fleeces, which is a bit much. But boy, did it make it fluffy.
Yeah, I've swatched because I have a cone of, I think it's FC54. It's a really pretty purple color. And I did knit a swatch. And even just with the Eucalyptus, I don't do anything fancy. It poofs up. It's just so much, it's quite different.
Yeah, so you can use whatever you use. Like I've seen in our Facebook group, some people really like soak. That would work really well. I've seen some people say they just put like a couple drops of Dawn dish soap. That works. Yep. Make sure to rinse it, but that works.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you just kind of keep on knitting and less ends.
Beautiful.
It's economical. So I tend to have, this is my third cone now, or the one I just bought for the shawl. I bought if you watched the last episode, I bought a cone of 202 because I also want to knit a cockatoo bray. So I'm very much into the color work yolks. They're very potato chippy. So this one's flying. So I think that the body will probably be done hopefully by Friday, so that then I'm just on to the sleeves. We've also had some questions about the Barber cord. So I thought, because for this, to put it on the mannequin here, I went ahead and put it on the Barber cord. Just like I did when I tried it on. And the Barber cords make it really easy for you to, quick and easy for you to try on your knits. And all you do, I'm using Chowgu needles. I don't know how this would work with wood needles. Have you ever tried it with wood needles?
I don't know that I have tried it with wood needles. I tend to really only knit with Chowgu, the metal. I have an interchangeable set. I did get one set of bamboo needles to try, but I've just not worked a lot with them, so I haven't used the Barber cord yet. Yeah,
and I think for up to, what did we say, up to size 10, is that what the knitting Barber?
I think up to size 9. I've technically used it on, I knit the Felix pullover, which was like a 10 and a half. As long as you're careful, you just have to go a little slow so you don't pull it off. But I didn't have any issue using it on a 10 and a half.
Okay.
But I think they technically say about 2 to 9, US 2 to US 9 needle size, I believe is the range they recommend.
Yeah, I think she might be working on a larger size. But so I just shove them really good onto the tips, just in case. And even though this cord is long, I put it on both sides just in case I get a little overzealous. And then you just start kind of pulling it through. So I usually pick one side and you start pulling it through. It's a little sticky from the spinning oil. And when I did put because I put the colorwork yoke on, and because there were more ends and stuff, I had to go slower. Yes. But I didn't have any trouble.
And I will tend to kind of pull it through and then move it around on the Barber cord rather than trying to pull once you've bunched it up, you kind of want to move that closer to your needle where you're pulling the needle in.
I really had the cord far around. So yeah, so now you can see the needle starting to just go in. So I usually just start sliding the stitches down.
Yeah, that's what I'll do, is kind of bunch up some stitches and then work with the needle, kind of gently pushing the stitches onto the needle.
So moving it all around on this side, getting a bunch of stitches bunched up.
Maybe we can do another close-up of kind of a bird's eye view so that you can see a little more as well.
I'm going to take your needle. I have stitches here for a sleeve, and you just tuck the end of the needle snugly into the end of the Barber cord. I think as a best practice, I like to put both ends into the Barber cord just in case. Then once you have that in there, you just gently pull, and you can see my needle just without me really having to do much, just goes back into my knitting. For a sleeve, I'm gonna kind of do like magic loop, pull it out that end and turn it and just gently pull, and there we go. My stitches are live back on the needles and ready to be knitting. And if you were just putting your live stitches on waste yarn, you would, the same thing, just pull in, and your needle, so it just glides through. This is J&S wool, which is a little sticky, but the Barber cord just slides easily, pretty easily through the needle, through the yarn, and there you go. It's on waste yarn, or on these Barber cords, and you're good. So that's it. That's how you use the Barber cords, and then they have smaller ones included so that when you need to put your sleeves on waste yarn, that's really fast and easy.
Yep. Yeah, so the set comes with, I think it's a 60-inch, a long one, and then the two shorter, maybe 30-inch or so.
Yeah.
There's one long and two short, so you have enough for kind of one sweater.
And they come in all kinds of colors.
Yes, lots of fun. I like a really bright one so that it's easy to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I have fuchsia, the hot pink one at home.
I have a pink one, and I finally decided to...
I like the green, is fun.
Yeah, I got the green. Yeah, so then you can see my needles are in there, and then you just pop off the... Gently pop... I really shoved these on there. Gently just kind of pop them off with your fingernail, and there you go, ready to knit again. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, just let us know. But I love my Barber cords.
Very helpful.
They're really helpful, especially if you want to quickly try something on.
Yes.
To make sure that you're on the right track.
Yes. I've even done it with hats for my son, because I'm notoriously bad about not swatching for hats.
Nice.
And so I'll put it on so that he doesn't run around and pull the needle out of the stitches as he's trying it on, because he usually has to go look in the mirror. So that's been helpful, even with just hats.
Nice. So I've put it back on the Barber cords and put it back on in the corner there, but I'm really enjoying working on the Paul clay. I do think I have saved the yoke that I think was too small, and Irene has been asking me, are you gonna knit mine? Which for a child who really had no interest in anything with woolly wool, this is a step in the right direction. I also ironically have my older daughter asking about her sweater, which is still in the development stages. And I told her, I'm like, it's going to be too warm to wear it till fall anyway.
Yes.
So for fall, you can have it for fall. So a bunch of
something
sweaters,
to look forward to.
Yes, a bunch of sweaters coming. And all of a sudden I went from having no kids wanting anything knit to both girls. Usually it was my son who wanted socks. Now he's just always barefoot. So there's no point in knitting him socks at the moment. And yeah, but both girls are interested. So that's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Why don't we go to our guest contributor segment, Erika. Erika has been our video editor for years, and I'm so delighted to see Erika knitting. It is really fun. So go off to Erika's segment, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hello, my name is Erika Jones, and I am really excited to be joining as the community contributor for this Shopcast. I have been knitting part of the Woolly Thistle probably for about 18 months. Actually, my inspiration was to do socks, and I, emailed, and I think it was Caitlin that gave me the suggestion that, well, you can start with socks if you want. If you want to get down the basics first, she recommended a hat that was, in fact, a great starting point. So I did one of those. Then I did a sock that took me 9 months to get through the two of them. And then things started getting better after that. So we are clearly talking about socks. When I say 18 months as a knitting person with the Woolly Thistle, I have actually been involved in the Shopcast a little longer than that. Usually I am the one putting all the pieces together. So I do the video editing, and it has been so inspirational to see all of the things that can be created, just the variety of patterns and abilities and things that can be done. And here we are, ready to talk about socks. So first off, where I got started with my woolly socks was actually the Rama book of socks, which I believe is in the shop. I have no idea about whether it's available or not, but this has seven different sock patterns in it, little ones of all of them. I have so far done 2 of them, so we're going to go over those. The first one I did is called the Furrow Socker. Here's their picture of it. As you can see, just basic contrast on the heels and toes. But that was a little intimidating for me at first because my hats were all one color, all 2 of them. And the first sock I did was all one color, but I did get through them. I did them in the green, which I think is called moss, and the gray that's called cashmere. And beginner mistake, I'm not sure how if it will show up on the camera well, but you can see this one here has is clear, not patterned next to the colors. And here we actually have that line. This is what the pattern is supposed to be. This is what happens when you're a new knitter and you're tired when you're trying to figure out what the pattern is telling you to do and you don't realize your mistake until longer than you want to take it out. But when I wear them, they still look fine. Anybody who's going to be counting divots around my feet, I'm not sure what to think of them. But I assume nobody will notice. So I left it as is, and I was just happy to get one of them per pattern. These being my second pair of socks did take, I think, a little bit over a month, but part of that was because I did a hat in the middle. I was just nervous about actually switching colors. So I put them on hold while I got my nerves up, but it worked out great. And of course, every time I did it, got easier and easier. Then I followed those up with actually the cover pattern from the book, what's that one called? The Never Socker. But I jumped right into making variations because I did that for the colorwork cowl. So this is how that one turned out. So the pattern has you go 2 rows alternating. So I made it still 2 rows, but I alternated a pattern in there. This is also in the Rama Vendre. I cannot remember the color. It's the dark gray, not the black, and the blue, alternating. My plan was to do it according to pattern, but then there was a colorwork cowl, so I got, I started playing around right away. And my other experiment in learning is the first time I did this, I put my row beginning right at the end, right at the back. And then I got to this heel, which was an afterthought heel. That was not a good idea. Doesn't work. I actually had to kind of splice in some extra so that I could cut my yarn to fit my heel in. So then this was the second sock, and I moved it to the side, where some helpful people on the Ravelry group did point out this was more common, though they understood liking it here. It just doesn't work with this kind of heel. So you learn every time you do one, right? And then the next sock I plan to do actually is this one per pattern, and in the gold, which is called something like Solila. Watch me write it on the bottom here. And then the cashmere tan again. And as I've worked with this and now just a couple of other yarns, I've noticed that this one feels a little bit like Velcro to me, like a really light Velcro. It likes when it touches itself, it likes to hold on a little, which isn't a problem when you're knitting with it. It's just the feel of it to me. And it does mean that those stitches, you got to pull them out. They stay there so well. So that's a good thing. Then to start experimenting so that I had a few more colors to pick from besides just the Vendre line, which is great. It's got some good variety. The next one I did is actually in Retrosaria Mondim. And this is a pattern from Tin Can Knits. It's their free rye sock. So it has kind of a textured pattern across the top of your foot. And then heel flap and gusset and all that stuff. But this is actually, because I was a little nervous about fingering weight, a few people in the Facebook group had commented that Mondim actually could probably work well held double. So I thought I'd just jump in and try that. So that's what this is in. It's actually color 113 and 114, just to get this marling effect, which I happen to really love. So those are the socks I've done. I'll actually jump back to the book itself for just a minute. The one thing I have really enjoyed about learning socks and having this pattern book is that they use just a whole variety of stuff. So my These socks were an afterthought heel. These socks were, I think, a very basic heel flap and gusset. There's this really tiny gusset right in that part, compared with the length of the gusset in this sock. And then once I get through a bunch of my other colors and I have a bunch of little pieces left over, my plan is to do this sock, which again is, this one is the fin socker, apparently. And again, that's a totally different construction. So as I'm experimenting, I'm really just learning, you know, which way do I like to do heels and toes. And it's just really fun to experiment with the different things. So that is a beginner's guide to socks, or at least a beginner's take on socks. And thank you for watching, and back to the rest of the show.
We hope you enjoyed that. I love seeing Erika. So Erika started, she tells how Caitlin recommended a hat pattern to her because Erika wanted to start with socks. And so she knit a couple hats and then she jumped into socks, which I think is amazing. I am just not that bold a knitter.
No. I've still only ever completed one pair of socks. So yeah. That's just not the season I'm in right now for my knitting.
Yeah. So the book that Erika used, the Rama Vondre sock book, is in the shop. It is in stock, as is lots of Rama Vondre sock yarn. We recently got in some newer colors too, so pop on over to the shop and start knitting some socks.
And we have sets available as well as the individual book and the yarn separately. So if you wanted to pick your own colors, you can get the book and the yarn separate, or you can pick one of the collection or the colorways that we have curated for that set.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of fun. We have another winner. Do you want to read the next winner?
So our next winner of a $25 gift card to the Woolly Thistle is Kate Wolf. Kate writes, really enjoy each and every episode. The projects from your various contributors offer great inspiration and comforting to hear the lingo and knit/yarn speak, as I do not have local knitting friends. Solo knitter and enjoying it. Your show pattern inspirations are wonderful. Crossed over to sweater knitting and looking forward to buying a pattern or kit from the Woolly Thistle very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. So if you want to email us at info@thewoollythistle, put prize winner in all caps, we will get you your $25 gift card for you to use in the shop whenever you're ready to get a kit. So the next thing we have here is, today's a big day.
It is.
Today is, other than our cast on day, which is, a lot of fun, the day that we've been waiting for. Marie Wallin's Westmorland Kits go live today. So Marie's lovely book, has been out for a little over a month now, I think. And we are now ready to release kits. So all of we've got about 8 new kits, all from Westmorland. They're really beautiful. So we have a kit for this beautiful sweater on the front, which is so pretty because Blay, I think is the name of that one. So you'll find all the kits in the shop now. I believe they're going live at noon.
Another vest.
Another sweater vest. And I believe, Marie, if you, Corinne recently had an interview with Marie Wallin talking about Westmorland. We can link here. If you've not yet seen that, you can pop on over and check out that interview where Marie talks about the designs for Westmorland. I know with Cumbria, Marie said, with the sweater vest especially, you can knit the smaller size if you want to knit it for yourself. She said that they're easy enough to adjust, whether for knitting for the man in your life or knitting it for yourself. I would most likely knit that for myself. My husband is lovely, but would not wear a sweater. This is so pretty.
It's beautiful.
This wrap, the Easdale wrap. That's absolutely gorgeous. There are some solid knits in there. We don't have kits for those, but you can just pick up a copy of the book and pick your color and off you go. If you need any help. Graidi,
yes,
I'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, feel free to email info@thewoollythistle.com if you have any questions about how much yarn you need for Marie Wallin or any books, really. If you have a book you want to order yarn for at the same time, we're always happy to help with that.
There's Blencartha. That's really pretty. Another men's sweater.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful.
I like this one. Glaramara. I think if you've knit the Primrose before and you're looking for a similar journey, this looks like it. Really beautiful. And then the Ennerdale cowl. I love this.
That looks like it might be a good introduction to Marie Wallin.
Yeah.
If you're maybe feeling intimidated by the sweaters.
Yes, I have not yet knit one of Marie's patterns, but maybe this year. Maybe this year. This cowl speaks to me. I have a bunch of stuff to work through first.
You better have those sweaters ready for your daughters in the fall.
I know. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful cowl. So all of the Westmorland kits will be live today at noon in the shop. So if you're watching this, either set an alarm or run to the shop now. And yeah, excited to finally have these available for all of you.
Yes.
Why don't we go to Emma? Emma is talking about one of my favorite things, which is color 81 of J&S. She's knitting on a cone, and this is an epic project that she is starting, and I can't wait to see how this goes. So pop on over, enjoy Emma, and we will see you on the other side with some shop updates.
Hi everyone! If we haven't met, my name's Emma, and I'm coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland, as I do about once a month. It's really warm here now. It's like been getting into the 90s, which is kind of normal for here, but like I'm from New England, as is the woolly thistle, so it's still a little weird to me that April is 90 degrees, but I'm really enjoying the weather. I'm wearing a summery top today. This is the Velocore top by Andrea Mowry, which I think she has knit in actual wool, but I made mine in like the white is a linen cotton blend with a little bit of wool in it. And then the orange yarn is color changing. And then the, every 10 stripes or 5 stripes or whatever, there's a blue stripe, which is just a sock yarn. And I love this as a summery top. And I was thinking it would be really nice in the blacker Lioness, which is like a linen and wool blend. It's just kind of like a lightweight summery top. I really like this piece just for summer, for some lightweight fun. Okay, so a couple things today. I will be sharing a couple of shawls with you since Shawl Cal is now upon us, and sharing maybe a plan or two that I have for the Shawl Cal for myself. And I'll be sharing with you a project in super fun woolly wool that's very seasonally inappropriate. So let's start with the shawls. Okay, so first I'll show you my Hansel hat that I knitted for last year's Hap Cow. This is the half Hansel in the medium size. So the Hansel hat, if you get the pattern, you get the full big square and then the half square, which is a triangle, obviously. And it comes in 3 sizes. There's a small, a medium, and a large. So I knitted the medium size, and as you can, it's a pretty big span. I can put it on so you can see what it looks like. I usually wear my haps like this. I put them on with my coat, and it's all cozy, or at work if I'm cold at my desk. And, kind of zhuzh it here so that you can see the fun part. So I knitted this in John Arbon yarns, so not really commercially available John Arbon yarns, the ones that you have to get from John Arbon. I think the red is from a line called Harvest Hues. And then this lighter brown is just their Exmoor Zorbless blend. But then the darker brown is Daughter of a Shepherd Heritage, which I got in my Woolly Thistle selection box. Actually 2 years in a row I got that. And that's also spun at the John Arbon mill, and I'll give you a close-up of these colors. This is a really simple pattern to knit, especially if you want to kind of dive into lace but aren't really like super comfortable with it yet, because it's very simple to read. It's just like an old shell lace pattern, which is a traditional Shetland pattern that just makes a little wave. It's really pretty. This is the center spine. That's why there's a detail here. But this just happens naturally through the decreases and yarn overs. It's garter stitch, which means you don't have to purl on the backside, which is also helpful. Although it's sometimes harder to read your lace that way. The Ravelry hat, which Corinne and Maggie showed on the last Shopcast, is kind of similar to this in the construction. So you knit this big triangle and then you knit it you just knit this border on and then you knit the applied border here. But that one is a little bit more complicated lace, including in the little detail on the edge. And that one you do have to purl back. So if you're more interested in like a little bit more of a challenge, that might be for you. The Belvrade Hat by Rita Taylor. I knitted that one too in the smaller size in the Daughter of a Shepherd Heritage in the dark brown. And it's wonderful, I love it. So this is, yeah, Hansel hat. Again, I think the applied edge here is this lace here. This is optional. I like it. Sometimes like people do it in a contrast detail, which I also think is really fun. I'm thinking of making another one of these also. I've got plenty of yarn. I have a couple of skeins of Armskip Manor 4-ply in like a gray, kind of medium gray, and then a white. And I'm thinking of maybe making a Hansel hat with those 2 skeins. So I could probably get a medium size out of just 2 colors. Yeah, but there's that. And another shawl that I love, this one's real easy, also good for beginner lace knitters and garter stitch. This is a shawl that just uses 1 skein of yarn, which is, you know, helpful for the budget sometimes, but also just like, you can make like a little lighter weight shawl for a different season. This shawl is called Ieri, which is spelled I-E-R-I, it's an Italian word. And it's by Maria Lacole, and it just has simple eyelets. So you can see these single eyelets every few rows, and then you get like a little eyelet stripe. Again, this is really, really simple lace. It's just yarn overs and decreases, very regular, easy to follow, easy to know if you're on the right track. And it uses 1 skein. It has, this is a little hard to see, but it has some little picot detail that if I had T-pins, I would have used. But I couldn't find them when I blocked this, and so I didn't use them, but I'm thinking I'll probably reblock these and pull out the little edges, these picot edges here, and open it up a little more so it has this fun detail and they pop out a little bit more. This is not knitted in woolly thistle yarn. This is knitted in a very drapey blend of like alpaca and cashmere and silk or something. But it's great. It has a nice wingspan, skinny wings here, so that really tuck under so that it doesn't really come off, which I sometimes find with a bigger hap, sometimes they don't stay on my shoulders always, and this is kind of nice to just like have. Again, this is a little lighter weight. Sometimes it's nicer for the spring as just a layering piece, or if you're in like New England or somewhere colder, maybe even in the summer. Definitely if you're in the UK and you're, you know the summer nights can be a little chillier or rainy, nice to have something little to just carry on. It weighs like nothing. And honestly, I'm thinking of making another one of these. And this is the yarn I would use. This is Jagger Spun Heathers. This is a very lightweight. It's 498 yards in this 100-gram skein. This is 100% wool. I've knitted a sweater in Jagger Spun Heathers before. I knitted the Gudrun Johnston's Yoki Doki with the body in like the light gray, and I just love it. It's really lightweight. It's really well-balanced yarn. Spinners, you know what I'm talking about. Just the plies and the thickness and how tightly it's spun. It's just so perfectly balanced, and it's so lovely. And so I actually got this in my selection box, I think back in 2021, and it's just been in my stash waiting to become, I knew it would be a shawl. I just knew it. Because there's a lot of yardage on this, and it's just kind of like, you know, you can get a really nicely sized 1 skein shawl out of 1 skein of this. And it's not gonna break the bank. It's not like a super dear wool, because it's local, it's from Maine. So it's kind of nice. Yeah, I love Jagger Spun. I think that the heather colors are just so lovely. There's a lot of nuance in there. You can see like a lighter green, you can see a darker teal, there's a little gray. I mean, it's just gorgeous. So if I'm gonna, I will say I'll definitely cast on a shawl. I don't always finish them. You know, people's brains go where they need to go. I need to have a lot of whips, and I need to have a lot of different types of whips so that my brain can have whatever it wants when, you know, especially for those of us who have jobs where we don't knit all day, you know, you wanna be prepared when you come home at the end of the day for like you know, maybe I'm just too tired and I need to knit something vanilla. And maybe I am raring to go and I want to like get into some crazy cables. And maybe I want some color work because that's what soothes me, or whatever it is. Maybe you just want the yarn to feel good in your hands and you have like a comfort yarn, you know? So that's why my kind of excuse for like always having 10 whips or more. Although right now I think, you know, I'm probably settling in around 10. A lot of them are socks. But okay, so I'm gonna share a little bit about a new project I'm working on. So I have, like Maggie, an obsession with J&S cones, especially in the color 81. We share this. I have been sitting on this for a while, maybe like a year and a half, and thinking I really wanted to knit one of those Norwegian Setesdal sweaters with the beautiful like black and white, you know, yoke up here and the lice patterning on the body and like some details on the sleeves. And I decided it was time to do that. And if you know me, you know that I need to do this from the get-go. No pattern, I just need to do it. I need to figure it out myself. It's like one of those brain challenges I really like. So I have this book called Traditional Scandinavian Knitting that has lots of great information about Setesdal sweaters and some nice photos. So I'll see if I can find a picture here to show you so you know what I mean. So there's lots of different types of Norwegian sweaters. The Selbu style is more the all over, you know, interlocking patterns like you'd, like on the tapestry cowl, for instance. You'd see that maybe on a sweater body, or the cardigan, the star cardi. That's kind of like more of like an all over type of pattern from Selbu. So the Setesdal is a little different. These jerseys are, because you can see there's patterning on the top there, and then there's just a lace pattern. And the reason this is white down here is because they would usually tuck that in, so it didn't need to be patterned, and they'd start the patterning like where you'd see it above the pants or the dress or whatever they were tucking it into. And this one's got a placket here. This is very traditional. I'm not gonna do that. I'm actually making mine into a cardigan. So I am just at the beginning here, and I've got my cone of J&S, and I've got, for my contrast, Rama Lammelgarn, which you can get at the Woolly Thistle as well. It's a little thinner than Finnelgarn. It has 250 meters and 50 grams instead of like the 174-ish of Finnelgarn. And it's really comparable. 250 meters and 50 grams is the same as 125-ish yards meters and 25 grams, which is the yardage for meters and yards are a little different, but that's the yardage for J&S 2-ply jumper weight, which this is. So if you buy a ball, it comes in 25 gram balls and you get about 125 yards. So the gauges are very similar, and this is Norwegian Lambswool and this is Shetland wool, but they're similar. They're both actually from the kind of short-tailed upper Scandinavian family of sheep. So they're actually similar in, you know, with their fibers, how their fibers act and the staple length and the crimp. So I thought, you know, and I mix yarns and color work all the time. I thought this will be fine. And it is, it's great. So I, you know, did the math to figure out what I wanted my gauge to be, how many stitches I need to cast on for the body. And then I just kind of went for it. So I knitted the bottom band here back and forth. And then I joined it, where's my bridge here? There's my steek bridge. I joined it in the round and made a little steek bridge. And I'm just kind of using charts from this book for the bottom color work on the hem. And I'm doing a small chart and then a larger chart, which I'm about halfway through now. I was working on that this morning. And then I'm gonna go back and do another one of the little charts separated by one black, one white, and then one black each. And I think this is gonna block out really nicely. It looks great now, but this is the kind of yarn that really, especially with a cone of jumper weight, there's a lot of spinning oil on it and still a lot of lanolin in it. So it really fluffs when you block it, which is really fun. It just looks so neat. So I'm really excited to see what this looks like when I wash it. So I'll be just doing this bottom hem and then going into just the lice pattern. So that's just one plain row and then one row where you do like 3 black and then 1 white and then 1 plain row and then 3 black, 1 white, but it's offset. So you're doing it like this, just all the way up the body until I have about 15 inches. And then I'm gonna separate off about 7 stitches on each, you know, halfway point. So 1/4 of the way around and 3/4 of the way around for my little arm-sized steeks here. Makes a couple of steek bridges there. And then I'm gonna keep going with the yoke color work. That's where I'm gonna start my yoke color work. you siphon off some stitches for the neck, as I actually did with this pattern as well. I modified this so that the neck would sit a little lower, because in the original, actually, it's a boat neck, and you knit the front and back identical, but I don't like that on my neck, especially in the summer. So I modify it so that you drop some stitches down here. I actually worked this one back and forth, but for, you know, color work like that, you put some stitches on hold, make another steek for the neck so you can drop the neck, do a few decreases around here. You grab the shoulders together, and then you're gonna I'm gonna needle felt all my steeks, open them up, put on a collar, knit some arms. It sounds really simple when I say it like that. It's gonna take a long time, and it's gonna be quite a lot of work, but once you kind of get into the swing of knitting patterns like this, which I've done a few times, it starts to make sense, and it's really fun as a blank canvas, because if you think about it, there's not a lot of shaping, so it's actually pretty simple to just kind of like slap on another chart and make your own really custom sweater. So this is just one of my favorite things to do, and I've always wanted just come monochrome one, because I'm a Fair Isle gal most of the time, which means there's a lot of colors in my sweaters. So I thought it'd be fun to just have something that was like a little different, and to use my beautiful cone of 81. So yeah, that's what's going on for me. I'm really excited about the shawl cowl and to keep going on this very weather inappropriate project. I am gonna be doing a deep dive into this like every couple of weeks on my channel, Tiny Desk Knitting, if you want to follow along there with my progress, but I'll share some progress on this every month as well. So you can see what's going on, and I'll let you know if I'm running into any kind of roadblocks and how I'm getting around them. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!
I hope you enjoyed Emma. So Emma is embarking upon a Norwegian Setesdal style sweater that she is, of course, whipping up Sans pattern Emma style.
Yes.
And she's using a cone of 81 along with lamel garn. And it looks like the lamel garn equivalent to 4078, which, Emma's just knitting my jam right now. It's just amazing. It's going to be a great sweater, and I'm going to enjoy watching her progress.
Yes. I love watching her knits. It's amazing how fast she goes, too.
She's so fast.
Yes.
So fast. We should ask Emma for a little video of her knitting.
Yes.
It is a sight to behold.
Yeah.
We will do that. Emma, this is our request. So other than Marie Wallin today and our cast on day, Graidi and I will, if you want more of Graidi and I, Graidi and I will be live in our Facebook group today at 12:30. So get your Marie Wallin kit and then zip on over. If you're not able to watch live, we always let the replay run in the group, and we'll link to it in our Ravelry group as well, so that if you're not on Facebook and you want to catch it, just pop over to our Ravelry group and check out the link afterward.
And we have gotten the question a few times of how to find the link in our Ravelry group, and we are working on a more centralized solution of where we can put those. But for now, if you just search, I believe Facebook Live, or even my name, which is Graidi, in the search in our group, that should bring up those Facebook Live links. Okay. So that's the best I've found so far, but we are trying to find one way to kind of keep those all in one spot, so it's easier to find. Great. And if you really can't find it, feel free to send a quick email, and I'm happy to get that link for you. Yeah.
Great. So we have a few other things that are coming to the shop. Line of 17 is now available on pre-order. It has not arrived here yet, so we'll put a photo up here. Looking at the photos of the patterns involved in this issue, it looks like a good one.
Yeah.
It does look like a really nice one. I like the cover of this one too. It's really bright and happy.
Yes.
Good for spring and summer. It is very gray here today in New Hampshire.
It is.
So,
although we have had some beautiful days the last, really 4 or 5 days.
We've been spoiled. I've had to remind myself that it's only April.
Exactly.
And sort of buckle up.
Yes.
We're not yet through spring, but yes. So anyway, Line of 17 is on pre-order. You can pre-order your copy today. Lina also on pre-order is Making Memories, which is Timeless Knits for Children by Claudia Quintanilla. That releases on May 12th. This looks like, I'm excited to see this when it comes to the shop. Yeah. It looks like, I can't wait till I have more little people to knit for. All of a sudden I'm that crazy mom who's like, grandkids one day are going to be super fun. And my kids are like, we're teenagers. And I'm, no rush, please not anytime soon, but the patterns in this really do look timeless and woolly. There's a couple of sweaters that use J&S and Rich Rosario Bobo, and I have no issues with knitting with wool for babies. Yeah. I just absolutely do. If I'm knitting, especially if I'm knitting for a knitter or somebody I know likes wool, I have no issues. Babies have been wearing wool for generations. Yes. And, you know, I love seeing photos of like babies in Icelandic wool. Out in their strollers, snapping on the streets. Yeah. Or in the courtyard. Yeah, even my babies, when my two oldest were born, we lived in Florida, and my grandmother still knit for them. And so one of my aunts did too, and it was amazing because we got these big bulky sweaters, and I'm like, the one day a year it was cold enough, I'm like putting them in all the wool, and they wore it just fine. Yeah, they were good. We had some very cute ones that my mom was an exchange student to Norway, and so her Maud, her mother, host mother, had knit us some very classic Norwegian sweaters when we were little. So Bestemor was our grandmother, and we had those. We have some photos of. I was actually, I think, 2.5 or 3 when we went to Norway. Oh, nice. And it was cold enough then to have the sweaters on. So it's really fun. Yeah. You'll have to share those with us. I know, I'll have to find those. That's really cute. I know my mom knit for us when we were little. I don't remember what she used. She gave away, I was a little cranky about it. She gave away, like she passed them down to cousins. And no, none of them kept him. Oh, so that's a bummer. That's a bummer. But anyway, Moosh and Friends launched about a week ago. It is currently sold out. It is absolutely adorable. I'm gonna grab it. So if you missed getting this one on pre-order, we did hear from Lina. They are going to reprint, print another go round of it. So you can go to the shop now and sign up for the back in stock notification. So that when it is available again, you can snag your copy. It is just so cute. It is. I did actually, I can't remember the last time I pre-ordered a book, but I pre-ordered this one. And I brought it home on Friday when it released, and Irene was like, ooh, which one first? And then she went through it like, not that one first, or not that one first. I think the duck... I blamed you for the duck. Yes, the duck gets me. The duck really... She is just so cute. She really is. Where is she? I think she might be towards I like the pig too. I really could knit all of these. So are you going to knit a mini Paul Klee sweater so that Irene and the animal can match? That would be adorable. Maybe. So this is the duck. She's so sweet. Just adorable. She's definitely my number one. If I did not pre-order a copy, so I don't have a copy yet, but when I get one, and I think flipping through the book, she gives you lots of lots of little lessons. So if you're not familiar with toy knitting, I think that this would actually be a really good. I've knit a fair number of toys. I went through a kick where it was like all toys all the time. And then all of a sudden I was like, my kids have so many stuffed toys. Because some of them I would give to the kids. Some of them, they're just mine and they just sit on a shelf. But this looks, so if you're not familiar with knitting toys, she's got some great instructions and photos in here. She does seem to prefer DPNs, but I'm sure you could use Magic Loop or whatever you're comfortable with. I actually do like DPNs. I have great affection for my DPNs. Again, it's sold out at the moment, but we will be getting more. Also available in the shop now, we have added J&S Aran. We've had this in the shop for a little while, but we brought in the colors. So do you want to show some of the colors? Sure. I'll just hold up the basket. There's too much of me talking. There we go. So these two colors are, let's see them, Old Gold and Moss Green are really pretty together. Yeah, so the J&S Aran line is the same colors as the J&S Heritage line. Yes. And then we have the Mussel Blue. I do want to point out too that the British term for worsted weight yarn is Aran. So yes. J&S Aran is a US worsted weight yarn.
Yep.
So as opposed to being an Aran weight. That was absolutely, it confused me and was mind blowing when I was like, oh, makes a lot more sense.
Yes. And we have a couple different reds. Oh, this is kind of more of a, this is berry wine. This one here is madder. Pretty colors.
Those are pretty.
They are. And we have Saxon blue and silver gray. And especially combined with the natural colors, there's just so many options for beautiful. We have optic white, which is a very bright white, and peat. And last but not least, we have indigo and coal black. So
Nice.
Lots of pretty colors.
Yeah, and it's a really soft and floofy yarn.
I have not worked with it yet, but it's definitely on my list of
It is. The list is long.
Yes, very true.
The list is long, but you can see it's got a, it is a worsted spun yarn, and it is just floofy and squishy, and I could easily wear this next to skin without an issue.
Yeah. I love the Shetland.
Yeah. And isn't the bobble hat knit with this?
I believe it is, yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, I can't remember all the colors that she has in there, but
yeah. So if you're looking for some project ideas, we do have some on the in the shop on the product page if you're looking for something. But it's just a lovely yarn.
it is.
Oh, the Latvian mittens! I'm really excited about this. So this is we have a little sneak peek for you. These will be coming in a few weeks, but they started arriving. I've been working on this for a while, so it's very fun. So we're going to give you a little sneak peek. We have, coming to the shop very soon are these Latvian mitten kits. And they're really fun. They come in this beautiful, box. This is the, kit that is inside this one. We're going to have about 10 different styles. And when you open your box, it comes with the pattern. It'll also come with DPNs, because these are knit on fairly tiny needles. That is the tradition, and these are authentic Latvian mitten kits. So it'll come with the pattern and all the yarn that you need. And yeah, they just arrived last week, and we have some assembly to do with these in putting the boxes and stuff together, but I couldn't resist showing them because I got really excited about it. So stay tuned. Reading about the different tradition of knitting Latvian mittens and where their motifs come from, which is absolutely fascinating. Yes. So I'm excited to bring you these in a few weeks. And yeah, these are genuine Latvian mitten kits from Latvia, which is wonderful. So stay tuned for more information there, but a little sneak peek. Some of them use some of them are 2-color and some of them have 3 colors. But looking at some of the Latvian patterns, I think some of them have 3, 4, or more colors. Designs. Yeah. So, but learning about the different meaning behind the motifs was really fascinating. It is. It's pretty fascinating. I was actually an exchange student to Latvia, so that's really fun to see for me also. Yeah. And they have a lot of meaning behind the symbols that they use in their and kind of historical culture, and different regions of Latvia have different styles as well. So it's really fun. So stay tuned. That's just a little sneak peek, and hope you'll enjoy those. Yes. They're really pretty kits. I think that's it. I know Corinne is, I hope she's feeling better by now. And I know she's been working on her mitten pattern for the Flowers of Fort Rose. Yes. You can see her Flowers of Fort Rose hat right up there. Kits are in stock in the shop, and we will have mitten kits and hat and mitten kits as soon as the pattern is ready, but not quite there, but working on it. Yes, we're working on it. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna let Kim take us out. Kim is our knitting yoga specialist, and today Kim is talking a little bit about meditation. So get ready to have a quiet moment with Kim. Thank you so much for being here with us. If you're free today around lunchtime on Friday, pop over to the Facebook group and join Graidi and I for a live there where we will be casting on our shawls or working on them if we couldn't wait and cast on early, which is probably more the case. And yeah, I think the last thing that we need to say is if you go out,
take your knitting.
Hi Woolly Thistlers, it's Kim here with Yoga for Knitters. Welcome to another installment of Yoga for Knitters. I'm just gonna keep saying Yoga for Knitters. So today our yoga practice is all about meditation. And meditation is actually the whole point of yoga. I know it doesn't seem like it, especially when you look at all of those you know, yoga people out there and they look like they can just wrap themselves into a pretzel and that's the point, right? Wrong. The first and only yoga posture in history was sitting still. Yeah, easy pose, otherwise known as easy pose, although many people would argue that it isn't all that easy to just sit still, cross-legged, or in lotus posture. But the father of yoga, Patanjali, he only talked about one posture, sitting there. And over the years, yoga teachers have branded their own type of yoga, and you have things like, oh gosh, Ashtanga, Iyengar, Power Yoga. There's so many different brands out there, and that's great. You know, they all offer something wonderful: discipline, physical strength and stamina, flexibility. All those things are good, but they're only good because they're supposed to help you get better at just sitting. Now, we sit and knit all the time, but knitting keeps us focused. In fact, knitting is a wonderful tool to keep us focused on what we're doing. Well, when you just sit and meditate in yoga, it's really easy to get distracted. So, I'm going to offer you a tool. Rather than knitting, though, we're going to use our breath, because as they say, the breath is the key. We're going to use our breath to do two things. We're going to use our breath to balance ourselves. We have a masculine and a feminine part to ourselves. Whether you're male or female genetically, we all carry masculine and feminine energies. And sometimes those energies can go out of balance. So we're going to balance our energies with our breath work, and we're going to use the breath as a distraction or a focal point to get us into a better state of meditation. Now, why would you want to do this? Because frequent meditation, we'll say frequent, has a huge effect on your well-being. You can handle stress better if you meditate regularly. You can think more clearly. You can remain calm in situations where normally you would be reactive. Meditation just makes every other part of your life better. And that's not even talking about the spiritual side of it, which I will leave out for you to explore on your own. Meditation makes your life better. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing you need to do is find a comfortable seated position where your back can be straight, your spine can be straight. I like to sit sometimes on the very edge of a chair. If my knees are too far down, then I find something to elevate my feet with. And now I can sit with a very nice neutral straight spine. The other thing to remember is sometimes our head tends to come forward or our chest tends to pop out. And this tells you a little bit of something about your life. You know, are you spending a lot of time looking down at your phone or knitting? Or are you trying to protect yourself by pushing your chest out and seeming tougher than you are from life to protect yourself from vulnerability? Just notice there's no judgment. Notice how your posture is. And for now, we're just going to fix it. You're sitting on the sits bones on the edge of your chair. Your spine is nice and straight. There's possibly a cat on your lap. And then you're going to take that bone in the middle of your throat, the hyoid bone, and you're going to just draw it back slightly. And as you do that, your chin dips and your neck gets longer. The back of your neck gets longer. And then you're going to place your hands either on your hip creases with your fingers. You're going to put your first finger and thumb touching, okay? And they're just gonna rest wherever your cat isn't. Speaking of distractions, this is a good one. All right, so all we're gonna do is visualize. Rather than actually physically block one nostril and then the other, we're gonna visualize that that's what we're doing. So we're gonna inhale through the left nostril, visually. We're gonna hold our breath for 4 counts. We're gonna exhale through the right nostril, visually. And then we're gonna hold our breath out for 4 counts. And then we reverse it. Inhale right, hold, exhale left, hold. We're just gonna move left, right to left, with pauses in between, equal counts. There we go, for each cycle. Okay, are you ready? You're in your tall seat. Here we go, inhaling left, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, exhale, right, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, inhale right, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, exhale left, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, inhale left, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, exhale right, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, inhale right, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, exhale left, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4, inhale left, and pause. Exhale right, and pause. Inhale right, and pause. Exhale left, and pause. Keep going in the rhythm. Just going to talk to you a little bit. There's a lot going on right now. You're thinking about your counts. You're thinking about your breath. You're thinking about your spine and your neck. And all of these focal points are there to keep you focused on only the task at hand, only this present moment. So breathe, switching sides, and breathe. Last one. And then keep your eyes closed. Keep your finger and your thumb together. And notice how you feel. Notice if there's a change in your nostrils. Maybe a calm color behind your eyelids. Notice if your back is hurting or if it's just fine. And notice your state of calmness. Do you feel calm, more peaceful, clear-headed? This is what meditation gives to us. This is what meditation does. And meditation is a practice, something that you could do every day. You see how easy that was? You could do this for 2 minutes before you pick up your needles. or maybe for 2 minutes after you put them down. You can do this first thing in the morning or right before bed. It will help you sleep. Whenever you choose to meditate is up to you, but try to make it a routine, a habit, something that you do on the regular. And you will, I promise, reap all the rewards. Your life will get better. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. It's always nice to spend time together with you, and we'll see you next time. Namaste.